I found my wife's second phone, hired to text me automated love messages. It's funny, in a twisted gut punch kind of way, how something so mundane can unravel your entire universe. I mean, a cell phone, just a slab of plastic and glass, really. But this one was a Pandora's box, a cursed artifact disguised as a lifeline. And before we dive into the rabbit hole, if this story hits you in the gut, if it makes you feel something, anything, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Seriously, it helps keep this whole thing going. And while you're at it, throw a like on it, share it with anyone you think needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you'd do. I'm genuinely curious. It all started as these things usually do, with a feeling, a gnawing, persistent itch under my skin that I kept trying to scratch away with logic. But logic was starting to sound like a weak defense against the rising tide of unease. Sarah. My Sarah. We'd been together, 10 years, married for 7. 7 years of building a life, a home, a family. 2 kids, a boy and a girl who are everything. Everything. They're the reason I'm even sitting here, trying to put this into words. Because what kind of father am I if I let them grow up in a house built on a lie? The thought itself is enough to make my stomach clench. Sarah. She's everything I ever wanted. Smart, funny, beautiful. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and light it up, not in a flashy way, but like a warm, steady glow. She's got this laugh, a real, uninhibited sound that used to make my heart sing. She's a planner, meticulous, organized, everything in its place. Our life together was like that too. Organized, comfortable, predictable maybe in the best possible way. We had our routine. Wake up, get the kids ready, I'd head to the office. I'm a project manager for a construction firm, big buildings, deadlines, all that jazz. And she'd work from home. She's a freelance graphic designer, incredibly talented. Then dinner, homework, bedtime stories, and then us, or what used to be us. Lately though, the glow felt dimmer. The predictability started to feel like stagnation, and the routine, once a comfort, now felt like a cage. She was distant, not in a way that screamed infidelity, not at first, more like preoccupied, lost in her own head. She'd be scrolling through her phone, and when I'd ask what she was looking at, it would be a quick brush off. Just work, or, oh, nothing. The little things started to pile up. The late nights, supposedly finishing up a design. The weekend trips to see her parents that felt a little too frequent. The way she'd flinch sometimes if I touched her unexpectedly. Small things, easily explained away, until they weren't. My phone. It's a pretty standard iPhone, nothing fancy. Always on me, always connected. That's just how my world works. Deadlines, client calls, emergency texts from home. So I'm at work one Tuesday afternoon, deep in a spreadsheet that's drier than the Sahara, and my phone buzzes. It's a text from Sarah. Normally, that's not unusual, but this one was different. It was short, sweet, and incredibly generic. Thinking of you, my love. Hope your day is going wonderfully. Copy. Okay, fine. A little random, maybe. She's a sweet woman. But the emoji? Sarah's not really an emoji person. She's more of a full sentence, punctuated with sincerity kind of gal. I texted back, a little playfully, "Everything okay, sunshine? You sound like a Hallmark card." Her reply was almost immediate. "Just feeling loved up. #loved up. Miss you." That's when the itch intensified. It wasn't just the emoji, it was the tone. It felt manufactured, like something copied and pasted. But I shook it off. Maybe she was just having a good day. Maybe she was trying to be extra affectionate. I went back to my spreadsheet, trying to ignore the little voice whispering in the back of my head. Later that week, it happened again. I was out with some colleagues, celebrating a project completion at O'Malley's, that Irish pub downtown, good beer, decent burgers. We're talking about the usual stuff, work, sports, complaining about our wives' shopping habits, all that guy talk. My phone buzzes on the table. Another text from Sarah. "Can't wait to see you tonight. You're the best husband a girl could ask for. Heart." This time there was no mistaking it. The phrasing, the sentiment, the heart emoji, it felt like a script. I excused myself, went to the restroom, and called her. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Hi, honey. Everything okay?" Her voice was bright, almost too bright. "Yeah, just got a text. You feeling okay?" "Never better. Just wanted to tell you how much I love you." "I love you too, but, the text, it was just a little out of the blue. Everything good?" There was a beat of silence, a tiny hesitation that was louder than any spoken word. "Of course, honey. Just a little spontaneous burst of affection." She chuckled, a sound that didn't quite reach her eyes. Or at least, I imagined it didn't. "You know I adore you." "Right," I said, my gut tightening. "Okay, well, I'm out with the guys for a bit. Be home later. Drive safe. Love you." I hung up, feeling a cold dread creeping into my chest. Spontaneous burst of affection? It felt more like a scheduled maintenance check. Over the next few weeks, it became a pattern. Almost daily, a text from Sarah, filled with saccharine declarations of love, accompanied by various emojis. "You're my whole world. Thinking of your handsome face. Can't wait for our date night." Each one felt more impersonal than the last. I started paying more attention. I'd ask her about her day and she'd give these vague, rehearsed-sounding answers. When I tried to initiate intimacy, she'd often be tired or have a headache or need to finish up some work. The comfortable predictability of our marriage was starting to feel like a carefully constructed facade. I began to feel watched, judged even, like my every move was being monitored by an invisible force. I started checking my own phone obsessively, looking for, I don't even know what, a stray text, a missed call, a digital breadcrumb. The tipping point came on a Saturday. We were supposed to go to a friend's barbecue, a casual get-together out in the suburbs, the kind we'd done 100 times. I was in the garage, getting the car seats out of the trunk, when my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Hey, are you almost ready?" she asked. "Yeah, just grabbing the car seats," I replied. "You coming down?" "Yeah, in a sec." "Listen, honey, about the barbecue. I'm not feeling up to it. I've got this splitting headache. Can you make an excuse for me?" "Oh, sure, no problem," I said, a flicker of disappointment mixed with something else. "Want me to bring you some Tylenol?" "No, it's okay. I just need to lie down. Love you." She hung up before I could reply. I went inside, feeling a strange mix of frustration and suspicion. She hated missing social events. She was always the one organizing them, making sure everyone felt included. A splitting headache? It felt like another excuse. I walked past our bedroom door and saw her. She was sitting up in bed, not lying down with a headache. She was on her phone, her face illuminated by the screen, a small, tight smile playing on her lips. She looked relaxed, engrossed, and that's when I saw it. Her phone.
It was a newer model, a sleek silver device. She always kept it face down when she wasn't using it, almost religiously. But this time, it was face up. And on the screen, I could see a notification, a text message preview. "Hey, beautiful. Hope you're enjoying your headache. Don't forget our 7 p.m. call later. Genius?" My blood ran cold. The sender's name? It wasn't a name. It was an icon, a little cartoon heart. And the message, "Our 7 p.m. call?" What 7 p.m. call? And who was sending her these messages? I backed away slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. I went back to the garage, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the car seats. I needed to get out. I needed to think. I told her I was going to pick up something from the store for the barbecue, a flimsy excuse that she didn't question. As I drove away, the image of her phone screen, the sender icon, the cryptic message, burned itself into my mind. I ended up driving aimlessly, the suburban streets blurring into a monotonous landscape. I stopped at a nondescript diner, the kind with vinyl booths and lukewarm coffee. I sat there for an hour, replaying the last few weeks in my head, searching for any other clues, any other signs I'd missed. The generic texts, the sudden distance, the vague excuses, the flinch when I touched her, it all clicked into place with a horrifying, sickening certainty. She was cheating. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst of it was the way she was doing it. These texts, they felt like an AI generating affection, like she was outsourcing her emotional labor to a robot. It was so impersonal, so detached. I pulled out my own phone, my fingers clumsy and numb. I scrolled through my contacts. Sarah. I hesitated. What was I going to say? I couldn't confront her. Not like this. Not without proof. I needed to know more. I needed to understand. Then, an idea.
born out of desperation and a rising sense of panic, struck me. It was reckless, stupid, and probably illegal, but I was beyond rational thought. I remembered seeing an old tablet of hers in the back of a closet, one she'd replaced a couple of years ago. I drove home, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I went into the spare room, rummaged through a pile of old electronics, and found it. It was dusty, forgotten, but functional. I powered it on. It was logged into her old Google account. I went to the messaging app, and there, amidst the usual chatter with friends and family, was a new thread. A thread that made my stomach plummet to my shoes. It was from a number I didn't recognize, a burner phone number. I'd bet my life on it. And the messages, they were the same ones she'd been sending me. The sweet, generic declarations of love, the emojis, the endearments. But they weren't coming from her. They were coming to her, and she was replying to them. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold the tablet. I scrolled up, further and further, trying to find the beginning of this conversation. It went back months. Her, from the burner. Thinking of you, my love. Hope your day is going wonderfully. Coffee. Her reply, from her main phone. You too. Miss you. Her, from the burner. Can't wait to see you tonight. You're the best husband a girl could ask for. Heart. Her reply, from her main phone. You're the best too. Can't wait. It was all there. Every saccharine text I'd received, every vague declaration of love, it had all been generated by this unknown number, sent to her, and then she'd been relaying them to me. No, that wasn't quite right. She was sending those messages to me, but who was sending them to her, and why was she copying them? It made no sense. Then I saw a series of messages, more recent, that started to clarify the horrifying picture. Her, from the burner. Remember, tonight's the big reveal. Make sure you play your part. He needs to believe it all. Her reply, from her main phone. Understood. Just let me know the script. Her, from the burner. He's getting suspicious. You need to ramp up the affection. More compliments, more heart emojis. Make him feel completely loved and secure. Her reply, from her main phone. Got it. I'll send him up missing you text later. And then, the text I'd received earlier that day. Thinking of you, my love. Hope your day is going wonderfully. Coffee. That was her reply to the burner, and she had forwarded it to me. The realization hit me like a physical blow. She wasn't just receiving these messages. She was hiring someone, using this second phone, to text her these messages, and then she was copying and pasting them or sending similar ones to me. She was orchestrating an entire campaign of manufactured affection. She was hiring someone to make her feel loved, and then she was using that simulated love to reassure me. It was a double-layered deception, a nested set of lies. She was playing me, yes, but she was also playing herself. And the most terrifying thought of all was why? Why would she need to hire someone to tell her she was loved? Was I not enough? Had I failed her so spectacularly that she had to outsource our relationship? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could confront her. I could scream. I could break things. But the calm, cold logic of the burner phone texts kept me anchored. Make him feel completely loved and secure. She was a master manipulator, using a hired hand to polish the facade of our marriage. I scrolled to the very bottom of the burner thread, the earliest message. It was dated 8 months ago. 8 months of this charade. 8 months of me living in a delusion. I looked at the last message from the burner, sent just an hour ago. Excellent work today. The final payment will be processed by Friday. Keep up the good performance. Final payment. Performance. My head was spinning. This wasn't just about emotional affairs. This was organized, contractual. It was a business transaction. I sat there in the dim light of the spare room, the dust motes dancing in the single shaft of sunlight, the silence of the house pressing in on me. The weight of it all was crushing. My wife, the mother of my children, hiring someone to text her love messages, and then using those messages to string me along. The sheer audacity, the calculated cruelty, the profound sadness of it all threatened to swallow me whole. I looked at the tablet, at the glowing screen filled with these hollow, manufactured words of affection, and a single, burning question echoed in the emptiness of my mind. What in God's name was she trying to achieve? And more importantly, what was she trying to hide from me? The barbecue was long over, my kids were probably asleep, and I was still sitting here, in the ruins of my life, holding a stranger's script for my own marriage. The burner phone's last message felt like a mic drop. I knew with chilling certainty that this was just the beginning. The silence in the spare room was deafening, broken only by the frantic thumping of my own pulse in my ears. 8 months. That's how long this elaborate charade had been going on. 8 months of me thinking everything was fine, of feeling secure in our carefully constructed suburban life, while she was apparently engaging in a long-distance, hired romance. The thought was so absurd, so profoundly unsettling, that I almost felt myself slipping into hysteria. Hired romance.
It sounded like something out of a bad soap opera. Not my life. Not my Sarah. But the evidence was there, stark and damning on the old tablet screen. Every sweet text, every thinking of you, every miss you that I'd received over the past few months wasn't a spontaneous outpouring of love. It was a carefully orchestrated part of a script, a performance. And I was the unwitting audience applauding a play that was rigged from the start. My eyes scanned the last few messages again, the ones that had tipped the scales from suspicion to outright horror. He's getting suspicious. You need to ramp up the affection. More compliments, more heart emojis. Make him feel completely loved and secure. The words swam before my eyes, each one a fresh stab of betrayal. Ramping up the affection, that explained the sudden influx of saccharine texts. She was responding to prompts, playing a part, all to keep me docile, to keep me from digging too deep. And the headache that kept her from the barbecue? That was just another performance, a convenient excuse to maintain her supposed character, the loving, devoted wife, while simultaneously fielding messages from her fired lover. It was so intricate, so twisted, that I couldn't even begin to fathom the mental gymnastics involved. She wasn't just cheating on me emotionally. She was orchestrating a complex deception that involved a third party, a burner phone, and a script for our own marriage. The final payment and good performance comments, what did that mean? What was the ultimate goal? Was this a test? A way to build up my confidence before dropping a bomb? Or was it something else entirely? Something darker and more sinister? The sheer emotional detachment required to engage in such a scheme was mind-boggling. It wasn't the impulsive act of a desperate lover. It was cold, calculated, and utterly chilling. I looked at the tablet, at the glowing screen that held the blueprints of my wife's double life. My mind raced, trying to connect the dots, to find a motive, a reason. Was she unhappy? Did she feel unfulfilled? Was I somehow responsible for this elaborate charade? The questions swirled, each one more painful than the last. I thought of our kids, Lily and Tom, two beautiful, innocent souls who deserved a stable, loving home. How could I shield them from this? How could I explain this to them, even to myself? The image of Sarah, my Sarah, orchestrating this whole elaborate lie while I was busy managing construction sites and helping with homework was like a shard of ice lodged in my chest. I needed to know more. I needed to understand the why. I scrolled back through the burner phone messages, looking for any hint, any whisper of motive. There were generic compliments about my wife's beauty, acknowledgments of her hard work in maintaining the facade, and instructions on how to keep him happy. Nothing that pointed to a specific reason for this elaborate setup. Then, buried deep in the thread, I found something that made my blood run colder. A series of messages from about 3 months ago, after the texts had become particularly frequent and effusive. Burner phone. He's falling for it completely. You're doing great. Remember, the ultimate goal is financial security. Make sure he trusts you implicitly. Financial security. The words hit me like a freight train. My mind immediately went to our finances. We were comfortable, but not wealthy. We had a mortgage, car payments, college funds for the kids. Was this some kind of elaborate scheme to get her hands on my money? But why the elaborate facade of outsourced affection? It didn't make sense. If she wanted money, she could have just asked or found another way. This
This was a level of subterfuge that suggested something far more complicated. I kept scrolling, my eyes burning, my hands still trembling. Then I saw it. A message from Sarah, not to the burner, but a reply to a different number. This number was saved in her contacts as lawyer. Sarah to lawyer. Everything is proceeding as planned. He's completely convinced. He's even started complimenting my dedication to our relationship, ironically enough. I'll need the divorce papers drafted by next month. Ensure all assets are secured in my name. Divorce papers, assets secured in her name. The pieces slammed into place with sickening finality. This wasn't about feeling loved. This was about preparing for divorce. She had been systematically manipulating me, building a case, making me feel secure and adored, all while planning to leave me. The financial security the burner phone mentioned wasn't about joint financial stability. It was about her securing her financial future from me. My breath hitched. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I was being set up. All of it. The sweet texts, the affectionate words, the emojis. It was all a meticulously crafted illusion designed to make me feel safe and loved, so that when she served me with divorce papers, I wouldn't suspect a thing. I would be blindsided, heartbroken, and financially vulnerable. I leaned back against the dusty wall, the tablet clutched in my hands like a damning piece of evidence. My marriage, my family, my entire life, it was all a lie, a carefully constructed 8-month-long lie. I thought of the kids again, their innocent faces. How could she do this to them, to us? The anger started to boil, a hot, corrosive rage that threatened to consume me. But beneath the anger was a profound, gut-wrenching sadness. The woman I loved, the woman I had built a life with, was capable of this level of calculated betrayal. I looked at my own phone, still in my pocket. I could call her, I could confront her, demand an explanation. But what good would that do? She'd likely deny it, play the victim, or worse, twist it around to make me seem paranoid and unstable. The lawyer contact, that was the real confession. That was the undeniable proof. I needed a plan. I couldn't just let her destroy me. I had to fight for my kids, for my future. But how? She had the upper hand, with her lawyer, her fabricated affection, and her meticulously planned exit strategy. My gaze fell back on the tablet, on the burner phone messages. Keep up the good performance. The performance wasn't over. In fact, it had just reached its most critical stage. I was still in the dark about so much. Who was this burner phone contact? Were they a professional, hired by Sarah, or someone else entirely? And what was the final payment for? A new thought, a dark and dangerous one, began to take root. If she was using this burner phone to orchestrate a fake romance, perhaps I could use it to my advantage. If I could somehow get access to that phone, or to the person behind it. I scrolled through the messages again, searching for any hint, any whisper of motive. There were generic compliments about my wife's beauty, acknowledgments of her hard work in maintaining the facade, and instructions on how to keep him happy. Nothing that pointed to a specific reason for this elaborate setup. Then, buried deep in the thread, I found something that made my blood run colder. A series of messages from about 3 months ago, after the texts had become particularly frequent and effusive. Burner phone. He's falling for it completely. You're doing great. Remember, the ultimate goal is financial security. Make sure he trusts you implicitly. Financial security. The words hit me like a freight train. My mind immediately went to our finances. We were comfortable, but not wealthy. We had a mortgage, car payments, college funds for the kids. Was this some kind of elaborate scheme to get her hands on my money? But why the elaborate facade of outsourced affection? It didn't make sense. If she wanted money, she could have just asked, or found another way. This was a level of subterfuge that suggested something far more complicated. I kept scrolling, my eyes burning, my hands still trembling. Then I saw it. A message from Sarah, not to the burner, but a reply to a different number. This number was saved in her contacts as lawyer. Sarah to lawyer. Everything is proceeding as planned. He's completely convinced. He's even started complimenting my dedication to our relationship, ironically enough. I'll need the divorce papers drafted by next month. Ensure all assets are secured in my name. Divorce papers, assets secured in her name. The pieces slammed into place with sickening finality. This wasn't about feeling loved. This was about preparing for divorce. She had been systematically manipulating me, building a case, making me feel secure and adored, all while planning to leave me. The financial security the burner phone mentioned wasn't about joint financial stability. It was about her securing her financial future from me. My breath hitched. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I was being set up. All of it, the sweet texts, the affectionate words, the emojis. It was all a meticulously crafted illusion designed to make me feel safe and loved, so that when she served me with divorce papers, I wouldn't suspect a thing. I would be blindsided, heartbroken, and financially vulnerable. I leaned back against the dusty wall, the tablet clutched in my hands like a damning piece of evidence. My marriage, my family, my entire life, it was all a lie. A carefully constructed 8-month-long lie. I thought of the kids again, their innocent faces. How could she do this to them, to us? The anger started to boil, a hot, corrosive rage that threatened to consume me. But beneath the anger was a profound, gut-wrenching sadness. The woman I loved, the woman I had built a life with, was capable of this level of calculated betrayal. I looked at my own phone, still in my pocket. I could call her, I could confront her, demand an explanation. But what good would that do? She'd likely deny it, play the victim, or worse, twist it around to make me seem paranoid and unstable. The lawyer contact, that was the real confession. That was the undeniable proof. I needed a plan. I couldn't just let her destroy me. I had to fight for my kids, for my future. But how? She had the upper hand, with her lawyer, her fabricated affection, and her meticulously planned exit strategy. My gaze fell back on the tablet, on the burner phone messages. Keep up the good performance. The performance wasn't over. In fact, it had just reached its most critical stage. I was still in the dark about so much. Who was this burner phone contact? Were they a professional, hired by Sarah, or someone else entirely? And what was the final payment for? A new thought, a dark and dangerous one, began to take root. If she was using this burner phone to orchestrate a fake romance, perhaps I could use it to my advantage. If I could...
This felt like a tangible lead, something I could potentially follow. A delivery meant a courier, a tracking number, a destination. It was a thread, however thin, that I could pull. My mind raced with possibilities. Could I intercept that delivery? Could I find out who the burner phone was connected to? The sheer audacity of her plan was matched only by the potential severity of its consequences. This wasn't just about a cheating spouse. This was about financial ruin and the potential loss of my children. I looked at the clock on the tablet. It was late. The kids would be asleep. Sarah would likely be in bed, perhaps reading a book or scrolling through her own phone, blissfully unaware that her entire carefully constructed world was about to crumble. A grim determination settled over me. I wouldn't let her win. I wouldn't be the victim. I would fight back. But first, I needed more information. I needed to know about that package. I needed to know who was on the other end of that burner phone. And I needed to do it before she finalized her divorce and stripped me of everything I held dear. I stood up, the tablet still warm in my hands. The silence of the house felt different now. It wasn't peaceful. It was pregnant with a hidden danger. I had stumbled into a war, and I was woefully unprepared. But I had to learn to fight. I had to find out who this burner phone belonged to, and I had to do it fast. The thought of another performance from her, another manufactured declaration of love, filled me with a cold, burning dread. I knew I had to get ahead of her game, and that meant finding out who was writing the script. My eyes scanned the tablet one last time, searching for any anomaly, any overlooked detail in the seemingly endless stream of manufactured affection. There had to be something else, something I had missed, something that would give me the edge I so desperately needed. And then, in a message sent just yesterday, a seemingly innocuous exchange about scheduling a client meeting, I saw it. A tiny, almost imperceptible detail that sent a jolt of icy adrenaline through me. A fleeting mention of a specific upcoming event, a gala fundraiser for a local children's hospital that Sarah had been adamant about attending and that I, for some reason, had been surprisingly resistant to. A coincidence, or a crucial piece of the puzzle. The gala fundraiser. Of course, it's exactly the kind of thing she'd latch onto. A public display of her supposed devotion, her charitable heart, all while secretly plotting to dismantle our life. I dismissed her enthusiasm for it as just Sarah being Sarah, always wanting to be seen, to be involved. Now it felt different. Insidious. Was the burner phone contact somehow involved in that? Or was it just another calculated move, a way to solidify her image before the inevitable implosion? I scrolled back to the message mentioning the gala, trying to pull more context. Burner phone. Remember the fundraiser next Saturday. Ensure you're seen interacting with key figures. It reinforces your position. Reinforces her position. What position? The position of loving wife and mother. Or something else entirely.
The implications were staggering. She wasn't just divorcing me. She was meticulously crafting a narrative, an alibi, a polished exterior that would make her seem like the victim, the wronged party, or at the very least, a woman deserving of sympathy. And I, her devoted husband, would be conveniently out of the picture, or worse, the villain of her manufactured story. My jaw tightened. The sheer calculation of it was almost admirable in a twisted, horrific way. To maintain this level of deception, to coordinate so many moving parts, to play me like a violin while the orchestra played a symphony of lies. It spoke to a chilling self-possession, a ruthlessness I'd never suspected. I looked at the time again. Almost 2 a.m. The house was a tomb. The silence pressed in, amplifying the frantic questions buzzing in my head. Who was this burner phone person? A paid actor? A professional fixer? A jilted lover who Sarah had somehow roped into this twisted game? The possibilities were endless and equally terrifying. The package from Thursday afternoon. What was in it? A prop? A gift for the burner phone contact? Or something more sinister? My mind conjured images of secret exchanges, clandestine meetings. The whole thing felt so far removed from my reality, from the guy who worried about school lunches and whether the gutters needed cleaning. A sudden sharp memory surfaced. Last week, Sarah had been ecstatic about a package that had arrived. She'd been unusually secretive about it, hurrying it inside, refusing to tell me what it was. She just smiled that practiced, charming smile and said it was a surprise for later. A surprise. God, the irony was a bitter pill. I pulled out my own phone, my hands still shaking, but with a newfound resolve. I needed to access her emails, not to snoop, not exactly, but to find out who this lawyer was. I knew her passwords, of course. We used to share everything. Now that shared intimacy felt like a gaping wound. Logging into her email was like stepping into a minefield. Every subject line, every sender, every snippet of preview text was a potential trigger. I bypassed the personal accounts, the newsletters, the shopping receipts, and went straight for the folder I knew she'd created for important documents. It was almost too easy. And there it was, an email from a law firm. Not a generic legal service, but a high-end firm specializing in divorce and family law. The sender's name was Eleanor Vance. The subject line, regarding your pending divorce proceedings. My breath hitched. It was real. It wasn't a paranoid delusion, not a misinterpretation. It was a legal process initiated by Sarah. And the burner phone messages, the hired romance, were all part of her strategy to smooth the path for this. I clicked on the email, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was a summary of a preliminary meeting. Dear Miss Evans, it began. Miss Evans, my wife's maiden name. She was already preparing to shed her married identity. Following our discussion on the 15th, I have begun drafting the initial documents for your petition. We will focus on securing your premarital assets and ensuring a favorable division of marital property given the circumstances you outlined. Circumstances she outlined. The circumstances of my supposed neglect, my inadequacy. The narrative she was feeding this lawyer was clearly designed to paint me as the problem. I scrolled further down the email. It detailed proposals for alimony, for the division of our assets, for custody arrangements. Custody. The word hit me with a physical force. She was already planning to fight for the kids. A wave of cold fury washed over me. How dare she? How dare she use our children as pawns in her game? How dare she, with such calculated precision, prepare to rip our family apart? The image of her sweet, smiling face, her hugs, her declarations of love, felt like a grotesque mockery. I had to see the lawyer. I had to understand what she was saying about me, what narrative Sarah was spinning. But I couldn't go in blind. I couldn't let Sarah get ahead of me. My gaze fell back to the burner phone messages. The performance was ongoing, and I was still in the dark about so much. The gala fundraiser, the package, the burner phone contact's identity.
These were the pieces I still needed. I started to compose a message, my fingers clumsy on the screen. Not to Sarah, not to Eleanor Vance, but to a contact I'd made years ago, a private investigator I'd used briefly for a tricky business matter. He was discreet, expensive, and very good at digging up dirt. 2. Investigator's name. Subject: urgent matter, personal. I need immediate assistance, discreet. The matter involves infidelity, financial deception, and potential legal ramifications. I have significant evidence on a burner phone used by my wife, which appears to be centrally managed. I need you to identify the owner or operator of this burner phone and ascertain the nature of their relationship with my wife. I also need information on a package delivered on Thursday,
Date. Finally, I need intelligence regarding my wife's attendance at a charity gala on Saturday. This is time-sensitive and critical. Payment upfront and retainer to follow. I hesitated for a moment before sending. This was it. This was the point of no return. I was no longer just a victim. I was a combatant, and I was going to fight dirty. I closed Sarah's email, feeling a hollowness in my chest that no amount of anger could fill. The house was still silent. The kids were still asleep, oblivious to the seismic shift that had occurred within their home. I pictured their faces, so innocent, so trusting. I had to protect them. I had to. I walked out of the office, the tablet still in my hand. The hallway light flickered, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to mock my sanity. I went into our bedroom. Sarah was asleep, her breathing soft and even. Her face, in repose, looked peaceful, angelic. It was the face of the woman I had loved, the woman I had married. But now that face was a mask, a facade, hiding a ruthless manipulator. I stood there for a long time, watching her, the weight of the betrayal crushing me. There was no grand revelation to be had here, no sudden change of heart to witness, just the quiet, damning reality of her sleep, her undisturbed peace, while my world was imploding. I turned and walked out of the room, closing the door softly behind me. The spare room still held the echoes of my discovery, the digital ghost of her deception. I sat back down, the tablet glowing in the dim light. I thought about the 8 months, the heightened affection, the elaborate lies, the hired romance. It wasn't just about money, it was about control. It was about constructing a scenario where she would emerge as the victor, the sympathetic figure, leaving me broken and defeated. The burner phone contact, the gala, the package. The investigator's work would begin immediately. I knew I couldn't rely on her suddenly developing a conscience. I had to anticipate her next move. I thought about the investigator's words from years ago. Sometimes the only way to fight monsters is to become one yourself, just for a little while. I wasn't sure I was ready to cross that line, but I was ready to do whatever it took to protect my children. I scrolled through the burner phone messages one last time. The casualness of it all, the efficiency, the utter lack of remorse. It was like reading a business plan, not a love affair. And sure, he trusts you implicitly. That was the directive, and I had trusted her implicitly. I had let my guard down, believing in the sanctity of our vows, the permanence of our love, and she had exploited that trust with a chilling, strategic precision. The anger hadn't subsided, but it was now mingled with a profound weariness, a deep, aching sorrow. It wasn't just about the cheating. It was about the calculated dismantling of our life, the deliberate erasure of our history, the manipulation of our shared future. I closed the tablet. The screen went black, mirroring the emptiness that had settled within me. The night was far from over. The fight had just begun. I had a strategy now, a path forward, however dark and uncertain. I would not be the casualty of her ambition. I would not let her rewrite our story without a fight. The first rays of dawn were beginning to paint the sky outside the window. A new day was breaking, but for me, it felt like the end of an era, the end of innocence, the end of naive trust, the beginning of a battle I never wanted, a battle I was now forced to wage. I took a deep, shaky breath, the air cold and unfamiliar in my lungs. This was my reality now, raw, brutal, and utterly unforgiving. I stood up, the weight of it all pressing down on me, but a flicker of fierce defiance, born of desperation and parental love, ignited within my chest. The performance was over for her, and my own had just begun.